we're going to switch gears. We're going to talk about our second segment, and that is Derek Jeter's departure from the Miami Marlins. Now, he stepped down as CEO of the franchise after 4.5 years, and not only stepping down as CEO, but he completely pulled all of his shares out of the franchise. So no longer affiliated with the Marlins. Very, very shocking news, especially with all the work that he's done with that franchise and the direction that he had them going. It was promising, and now it brings the question: what direction are the Marlins headed in if Jeter's pulling out? So it's something that we're gonna have to answer over time. It's not going to be something that comes out right away. You got to give it a few years, and then we'll really see. If the Marlins are still kind of mediocre, Jeter never settles for mediocrity. He never has. He's a winner. Jeter is a winner. When you think of winning in baseball, I think of Derek Jeter. And the Marlins, they obviously something set him off that he didn't agree with, and we're gonna have to wait and see where this team heads. So Ken Rosenthal, MLB insider Ken Rosenthal, he took to Twitter and he gave Jeter's departure statement, and we'll paraphrase a little bit here. So Jeter said, "We had a vision 5 years ago to turn the Marlins franchise around, and as CEO, I have been proud to put my name and reputation on the line to make our plan a reality. Through hard work, trust, and accountability, we transformed every aspect of the franchise, reshaping the workforce and developing a long-term strategic plan for success. That said, the vision for the future of the franchise is different than the one I signed up to lead. Now is the right time for me to step aside as a new season begins." Andrew, strong words there from Mr. Jeter, and it really brings up the question that I just mentioned. Where are the Marlins going if this is the case?
Yeah, it's really interesting to me because it seemed like the Marlins were kind of going a little aggressive this offseason.
They were. Kim Ng, she put in the work.
She put in that work. Jacob Stallings, Abigail Garcia,
Joey Wendell,
and they got a great pitching staff. They
do. They really do.
Sixto Sanchez, Sandy Alcantara, forgetting a few right now.
Pablo Lopez. Newcomers, Edward Cabrera. I mean, the future is bright in Miami. So something really, another one. They just have these young fireballers, and not just fireballers, but good pitchers, guys that know how to play that position. And it's just shocking that Jeter's stepping away. Yeah.
Trevor Rogers.
Yeah, Trevor Rogers. See, the names just keep going. And some of these names we'll bring up as the segment continues. And I've seen a lot of things on Twitter, Andrew, some things I really don't agree with. I don't know if you've seen them, but a lot of people, and people hate Derek Jeter because he's just better than them. I'm sorry. Your favorite shortstop, not as good as Jeter. Not sorry. Reese's. Anyway, a lot of people were degrading what he has done for the team, instantly saying he traded an all-star team away. He's diminishing this franchise. He completely tore it down and once he came in, and we'll bring up some notable subtractions that Jeter made as soon as he came in to the Marlins franchise. So number one, it's a minor one, but it wasn't minor at the time because he was a 2-time All-Star and he put up some serious numbers with the Marlins during his time there. And that's D. Gordon. They traded him to the Mariners for a few prospects. One, Nick Nadert. He's the only real notable name out of that package, and he is kind of a little bullpen piece for the Marlins. So not a huge problem there. People made it kind of a bigger deal than it was at the time because D. Gordon was very good, as I said. But now we get into the bigger ones. Christian Yelich to the Brewers for Louis Brinson, Isan Diaz, Monte Harrison, and Jordan Yamamoto. All four were prospects. One does not play for the Marlins anymore, that being Jordan Yamamoto. Monte Harrison, he's been okay. He was also a top prospect for the Marlins once coming over, hasn't really lived up to that. Isan Diaz, same deal. But the biggest one, Louis Brinson, center fielder. A lot of hype around him when he came from Milwaukee. Really has not lived up to the expectations. So fine, haters, you're up 1-0. Christian Yelich, he went to Milwaukee and he's done nothing but damage. 2018 National League MVP, but they tried their best with the package, just hasn't worked out. Another one, Marcelo Zuna to the Cardinals, another guy that was a Silver Slugger and a Gold Glove Award winner with the Marlins as well as being an All-Star with them. Now the package that they got from the Cardinals a little more enticing. You got guys like Sandy Alcantara, looks like the future ace of that staff. Magneuris Sierra, kind of a pinch runner. He's an okay outfielder. He's very quick though. Then you got another guy, Zach Gallen. They were able to trade him and flip him for somebody much better. We'll get into that in just a minute. So a little more of a decent package. Now, haters, it's 1-1. JT Real Muto to the Philadelphia Phillies. The Marlins acquired Jorge Alfaro and Sixto Sanchez. Jorge Alfaro, another top prospect at the time. They shipped him off to San Diego this offseason. Sixto Sanchez looks to be another staple in that rotation for years to come for the Marlins. So another one that Jeter didn't really miss on. And then one from last deadline, Starling Marte to the Athletics, a 1-for-1 deal. They got Jesus Luzardo. He was a former top prospect for the Oakland Athletics. And he's still trying to find his role, that he could either be a relief pitcher or a starting pitcher. Nevertheless, great stuff, electric fastball, a lot of upside potential. Now, the biggest one of the three, Giancarlo Stanton to the Yankees for Starlin Castro, Jorge Guzman, and Jose Devers. Now, Starlin Castro in that package put 2 solid years together for the Marlins. Wasn't an all-star, but he was a pretty good player to have. And Stanton, that's the big one. He was the golden boy for the Marlins back in the 2010s. He was a 4-time All-Star, a 2-time Silver Slugger, and he also won the National League MVP in 2017. And he had 2 30-plus home run seasons with the Yankees. So both teams kind of benefiting from the trade. The Marlins, not as much as the Yankees, I would say. But here's why these guys were shipped off. A lot of people were saying, oh, Jeter shipped off an all-star team. Yeah, all-star team now. But he realized the potential that some of these guys had, and he thought it was a good opportunity to let them go and try to get the most value out of them. So I'll just read off some contracts for the 4 guys, the big 4, Marcell Ozuna, JT Realmuto, Christian Yelich, and Giancarlo Stanton. Now, Marcell Ozuna signed a 4-year, $65 million deal with Atlanta. That's big dollars. Realmuto, 5 years, $115 million with the Phillies. Now we start to get a little bigger. Christian Yelich, 9 years, $215 million with the Brewers. And the biggest one of all, he signed with the Marlins. Now it's the Yankees' problem. 13 years, $325 million for Giancarlo Stanton. Now that is a combined $720 million for 4 players. Do we really think a new ownership group can take on those contracts? Absolutely not. They couldn't afford Stanton to begin with. And as I said, Jeter and his staff realized the potential with Christian Yelich, JT Realmuto, and Marcell Ozuna, and they tried to get the most out of it. So, Andrew, I see these people going on Twitter and they're trashing Jeter's work. Like I said, they probably just don't like him, but the work that he's put in, it's slowly starting to pay off, and hopefully in years to come we'll see what this team can do in the National League East.
Yeah, well, I agree. I think Jeter did get a lot of unwarranted hate. When he became the president of baseball operation, he was given the agenda to rebuild. He was not going in and being like, all right, we need to win a World Series. After, I think everyone knows, after the tragic death of Jose Fernandez, that kind of just messed up everything in the organization. It didn't really feel the same. You kind of just had to blow it up. Just Stanton, in the first place, there was kind of reports, I don't know if you've heard any about this, but the Marlins gave him that 13-year extension kind of just out of a courtesy. He was like the best player in their franchise history, but they were, in the back of their minds, they were planning on trading him eventually.
Yeah, absolutely. I have seen that before. And, Stanton, as I mentioned, as you mentioned too, he is probably the best player in franchise history for the Marlins. And there is no denying that. So, but as I said too, a new ownership group cannot afford those contracts for 4 players. $720 million, that could easily go somewhere else. And they've also done a lot of work in the draft, and it's starting to pay off a little bit. We've seen one. We'll start in 2017. First round pick for the Marlins was Trevor Rogers. He was an all-star this year. He pitched to a 2.64 ERA with 157 Ks and only 46 walks. And he came in second in Rookie of the Year voting for 2021. So already 1-for-1 in the draft for Mr. Jeter. And then in 2018, he drafted outfielder Connor Scott, who he then traded this offseason to get catcher Jacob Stallings. So in my eyes, that is a 2-for-2. Jacob Stallings is probably a top 10 catcher in all of baseball. And he used his assets that he got in the draft to get an impact player right away. So 2019, first round pick, JJ Bleday, SEC hitter of the year, something along those lines when he was back with Vanderbilt. He's currently in AA. He's a first baseman and an outfielder. He is currently also the 5th ranked prospect in the Marlins system. And he is the 71st ranked player on the top 100 prospects list in all of baseball. So that's another guy that we'll see what he does. He's a little older. He's 25, or he'll be 25. And hopefully he can make an impact for the Marlins this year. But it's another guy that they went out and they did the work for him, and they used the draft diligently. Another guy, 2020 first round pick, Max Meyer, currently in AAA. He's moving up the ranks very quickly. He's the 3rd ranked prospect in the Marlins system. He's got electrifying stuff. He's also the 30th ranked prospect on the top 100 list. So another guy on the top 100 list that the Marlins have that Derek Jeter brought in. So once again, it just goes to where is this hate coming from? There was no destruction. There was it was a teardown, of course, but you have to use the farm system. That's how Jeter came up. That's how his teams that he won with came up. The core of that team was built through the farm system. And the last guy, the 2021 first round pick from the Marlins, was Khalil Watson. He's a shortstop, and he's only 18 years old, and he's already the 1st ranked prospect in the Marlins system. Tremendous upside potential, and he is already the 27th ranked prospect in the top 100 list in all of baseball. So Andrew, Jeter and his staff, they have done the due diligence, and they have so far succeeded with the draft picks that he has taken, or that he had taken in his tenure.
Yeah, I really don't understand any of the hate that Jeter can get. When you take a team that was one of the worst teams in the league, over 100 loss team in 2019, or at least close to it, I'm pretty sure. And then they go, yes, expanded playoffs, everything, 6-game season, but they made the playoffs when nobody expected them. Absolutely nobody thought the Marlins had any chance, and they beat the Cubs. They
did. Yes, they did.
So I just think the fact that Jeter was able to make a good enough roster to make the playoffs in a rebuilding year, that just makes it a win itself.
It does, 100%. And another trade that we didn't talk about, he took Zach Gallen from that Marcell Ozuna trade, and he flipped him for Jazz Chisholm, who we talked about in last episode, could be the franchise shortstop. So, these things take time. These haters don't have that patience. So you have to let what you are bringing in, you have to let that develop. I could see the Marlins being a very successful team down the line, especially with the guys that Jeter brought in. So it's all a wait and see. It really does bring up the question, as we open the segment with, where is this team going if Jeter's pulling out? So only time will tell.